Winter settled over the mountain cabin where Ethan and Nira had taken refuge. Snow piled high around the small structure, isolating them further from the world. Ethan worried about supplies, but found the previous owner had left the pantry well stocked. They would have enough to last until spring. Nira struggled with the cold. Her species evolved on a warmer planet, and the freezing temperatures made her sluggish. She spent most days huddled near the fireplace, wrapped in blankets, studying Ethan's books and the few electronic devices he had brought. "I need to understand your technology better," she explained one evening. "If I am to build communication device, must learn basic principles." Ethan had brought his laptop, solar charger, and some tools. He watched as Nira absorbed information at an astonishing rate. She learned coding in days, reading through programming books and practicing on his computer. "Your science is primitive, but has potential," she said. "The principles are sound, just need refinement." During the long winter nights they talked, Nira told him about her world. Lyra was an old planet, its civilization thousands of years ahead of Earth. They had solved problems of energy and transportation, but faced environmental challenges. Their sun was slowly changing, making their planet increasingly inhospitable. "We were looking for new agricultural methods," Nira explained. "Our traditional food source is failing. That is why I was studying earth plants. Your species adapts so quickly, evolves rapidly. Fascinating to observe in return." Ethan told her about his life. He had always been a loner, drawn more to plants than people. After college, he bought the small house with its large garden plot and lived quietly, growing most of his own food and selling the excess at local markets. "I never fit in," he admitted. "Not really an outcast, just different. Never wanted what everyone else seemed to want. Career, marriage status. None of it felt right to me." Nira nodded, understanding. "This is why you help me. You recognize different as not threatening." As winter deepened, their bond grew stronger. Ethan taught Nira to cook earth foods. She showed him meditation techniques from her world. They developed a rhythm together, a comfortable partnership that neither had expected. One night, as snow fell heavily outside, Nira asked a question that had been on her mind. "Would you come with me, if my people find me? Would you leave Earth?" Ethan stared into the fire, considering if I stayed, what would happen. Things would go back to how they were before, quiet, lonely, predictable. He looked at her, alien yet somehow more familiar than any human he'd known. "I think I would," he said. "And that's terrifying." She made that musical sound, her version of laughter. Fear of unknown is natural, but also exhilarating. Yes, by early spring, the snow began to melt. Nira had created what she called a signal amplifier, using parts from Ethan's laptop, his phone, and materials they found in the cabin. She believed it might boost her personal communicators' range enough to reach orbiting ships if any were near Earth. "No guarantee it will work," she cautioned, "but worth trying." They set up the device on a clear night, placing it on the cabin's roof. The stars spread across the sky, like diamonds on black velvet. Nira pointed out her home system, a faint star barely visible to Ethan's eyes. She activated the amplifier and sent a series of pulses, coded with her identification and location. "Now we wait," she said. Days passed with no response. Nira continued to refine her device while Ethan began preparing a small garden behind the cabin. Their supplies were running low. They would need fresh food soon. "We need more components," Nira said after another failed attempt. "Need to go to town." Ethan was reluctant. The neighbor who had seen Nira might have alerted authorities. People could be looking for them, but they needed supplies. He finally agreed to a quick trip, staying away from his hometown and going to a larger city where they would be anonymous. Nira could pass for human with some adjustments. Her height was unusual but not impossible. She wore sunglasses to hide her completely black eyes and gloves to cover her 6-fingered hands. Ethan gave her his largest coat to conceal her thin frame. They practiced her walking gait and speech patterns until she could blend in reasonably well. The city was overwhelming for Nira. Too many sounds, smells, people. Her senses, more acute than human, struggled to filter the bombardment of stimuli. Ethan kept close, guiding her through crowded streets. They purchased necessary supplies and electronic components using cash to avoid leaving traces, as they were leaving the electronics store. Nira suddenly froze. A government vehicle, with official markings, was parked across the street. Two men in suits were questioning a store owner showing photos. "They are looking for us," she whispered. Her sensitive hearing picked up fragments of conversation. Alien purple skin. Male accomplice, Ethan, pulled her into a side alley. "We need to get back to the truck now. Stay calm, act normal." They took a circuitous route, avoiding main streets. Finally reaching their vehicle, they loaded their supplies and drove away. Ethan constantly checking the mirror. For followers, they were close, he said when they were safely on the mountain road. "Someone reported us. The store owner must have recognized me from the photos." Nira looked troubled. "I bring danger to you. You should leave me. Return to your life." Ethan shook his head. "Too late for that. I'm in this now, whatever happens." Back at the cabin, they worked quickly, Nira incorporating the new components into her communication device. That night they tried again, sending the signal stronger than before. For 3 more days nothing happened. They began to lose hope. Then on the 4th night, as they sat by the fire, a strange humming filled the air. The cabin's lights flickered, then went out. Ethan looked out the window and gasped. A light hovered above the trees, moving closer. Pulsing with energy. "They found us," Nira said, her voice mixing fear and excitement. She rushed outside, Ethan following. The light descended, revealing a small craft unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It landed in the clearing near the cabin, making barely a sound. A door opened and a figure emerged, tall like Nira with the same purple skin but broader. More imposing, Nira called out in her language a series of musical tones. The other alien responded. They conversed rapidly. Then the newcomer turned to Ethan. "You protected our scientist," the alien said through a translation device similar to Nira's. "We are grateful. My name is Ethan Moore." Ethan said, feeling suddenly inadequate before this advanced being. "Are you here to take Nira home?" The alien nodded. "I am Krell, Search and Rescue Commander. We detected signal, followed to source, did not expect to find survivor after so much time." More figures emerged from the craft, all similar to Nira, with subtle variations in height and skin tone. They greeted her warmly, surrounding her with what appeared to be joy. Krell turned back to Ethan. "Our mission was recovery only. Expected to find remains, not survivor. You changed equation." Human Nira broke away from her companions and approached. "They say ship has room for passenger," she told Ethan. "The offer still stands. Will you come with me?" Ethan looked at the alien craft, then at the small cabin that had been their sanctuary for months. What would happen to him on an alien world? Would he ever see Earth again? But then what was really keeping him here? Before he could answer, a sound broke the moment. Vehicles approaching, lights cutting through trees. "Government agents," Ethan said. "They must have tracked us somehow. Maybe followed our power usage or spotted your ship's descent." Krell spoke rapidly to the other aliens. They began boarding the craft quickly. Nira grabbed Ethan's arm. "Decision time now," she said urgently. "Come with us or stay. No more time." Ethan took one last look at the world he'd always known. The headlights were visible now, coming up the mountain road. In moments the clearing would be surrounded. There really was no choice, not anymore. His life on Earth was over the moment he helped Nira let go. He said. They ran to the craft. The door sealed behind them. Ethan felt a brief sensation of weight as the ship rose quickly. Krell manipulated controls and a screen showed the cabin below. Vehicles surrounded it. Men in tactical gear, emerging weapons drawn. But they were too late. The ship accelerated upward, breaking through clouds, then atmosphere. Earth receded below them, a blue marble growing smaller. Ethan felt a moment of vertigo. Then Nira's hand found his, steadying him. "Your world is beautiful from here," she said. "Not my world anymore," Ethan replied. "Not just mine anyway." The ship accelerated further, stars stretching around them as they prepared for the journey to Nira's home. Ethan Moore, gardener and loner from Earth, had become something else entirely. First human to leave the solar system. An explorer. An immigrant to the stars. Krell approached them. You are first human to join Lyran society. He said many questions await, many challenges, but you saved one of our most valued scientists. You will be welcomed. Ethan looked at Nira, who smiled in her alien way. I always wanted my garden to grow something amazing, he said. Never imagined it would grow an adventure like this. Ethan Moore never expected to find an alien in his backyard garden. That autumn evening was like any other until he noticed movement behind the tomato plants. The creature was tall, thin, and clearly not from Earth. Her skin had a faint purple glow, visible even in the dim light of dusk. Her large eyes were completely black, absorbing all light. She wore what appeared to be tattered remains of some uniform. Her body trembled as she tried to stand. She looked at Ethan with fear and exhaustion. Despite his initial shock, Ethan noticed how she kept looking at his basket of freshly harvested vegetables. He had been gathering the last of his summer crop when he discovered her. The alien was clearly starving. Do not be afraid. I mean no harm. She spoke, in halting English. The translation device on her wrist flickered weakly. Need food. Please. Ethan hesitated only for a moment before offering his basket. She took it with shaking hands and quickly devoured several tomatoes and cucumbers. Her relief was immediate. My name is Nira. I am from Lyra system. My ship crashed 5 miles north, she explained between bites. The others died. I only survivor. Ethan watched as she ate, trying to process what was happening. An actual alien was sitting in his garden, eating his vegetables. He lived in a small town where nothing exciting ever happened. Now he was part of what should be the biggest news in human history. You should come inside, Ethan said, looking around nervously. If anyone sees you, there will be trouble. Nira looked uncertain but nodded. She was too weak to argue. She followed him into his small house, moving with a strange grace despite her condition. Once inside, she collapsed onto his couch. Ethan brought her water and more food. He watched as she drank 3 full glasses without stopping. He had 1,000 questions but waited patiently for her to recover enough strength. Thank you, she finally said. The translation device on her wrist seemed to be working better now. You are kind when many of your kind would be afraid. I am afraid, Ethan admitted. But you needed help, that comes first. Nira studied him with those deep black eyes. I have observed your species for some time before crash. Most data suggested humans would capture or kill. Ethan frowned. Not all of us are like that. She nodded. I see this now. Need to rest, hide. Please do not tell others. She fell asleep almost immediately. Ethan covered her with a blanket and sat in the chair across from her, wondering what he had gotten himself into. He lived alone, so at least he didn't have to explain her to anyone else. But what was he supposed to do with an alien refugee? The next morning, Ethan woke to find Nira examining his kitchen appliances with great interest. She looked stronger, her purple skin now glowing more brightly. She turned when she heard him. Your food gave strength. Healing faster than expected, she said. Your planet's atmosphere compatible with my biology. Ethan made coffee, trying to act normal, despite the bizarre situation. What are you going to do now? He asked. Can you fix your ship? Nira shook her head. Ship destroyed beyond repair, communication systems also damaged. Cannot contact my people. She looked down. The device on her wrist is personal translator. Not strong enough to reach space. So you're stuck here? Ethan said. Yes, she replied. Unless your technology can help. But from what I observed before crash, your species does not have capability. Ethan had to agree. They sat in silence, drinking coffee. Nira seemed to enjoy the taste, making a musical humming sound when she sipped. I cannot stay here. Nira finally said, Your authorities would experiment on me. I have seen your media. I understand how your kind reacts to unknown. You can stay until you're fully recovered. Ethan surprised himself with the offer. I live alone. Nobody comes here much. My nearest neighbor is a mile away. Nira tilted her head, studying him. Why would you risk this? Ethan shrugged. Maybe because it's the right thing to do. Or maybe because meeting An alien is the most interesting thing that ever happened to me. Nira made that musical sound again, which Ethan realized was her version of laughter. In my culture, she said, offering shelter to stranger brings great honor. During the following weeks, Nira regained her strength. Ethan learned she was a scientist specializing in agriculture. Her mission had been to study Earth's plants for potential crossbreeding with crops from her world. She was fascinated by his garden, even though autumn was ending, most plants dying or dormant. She explained that her people, the Lyrans, faced food shortages on their homeworld. Their atmosphere had changed, making traditional crops fail. Your tomatoes contain compounds that might survive on my world, she explained one evening. They are remarkably adaptive plants. Ethan enjoyed her company. He had always been something of a loner, but Nira was easy to talk to. She learned English quickly, no longer relying on her translator for simple conversations. Her perspective on everything from cooking to television was refreshingly different, but keeping her hidden became increasingly difficult. She needed supplies he couldn't grow or make, and she desperately wanted to explore beyond his property. You do not understand, Ethan, she said after he refused to take her into town. Even if your government did not capture me, others would. I have valuable knowledge. Your corporations would want my technology. Your religions would be threatened by my existence. Just want to keep you safe, Ethan said one day while Ethan was at the store buying supplies. Nira decided to explore the woods behind his house. The fresh air felt good after being confined to the house and garden for weeks. She examined earth plants, noting their structures and adaptations. She didn't notice she had wandered onto neighboring property until she heard a dog barking. The large animal charged toward her, teeth bared. Nira froze, uncertain how to respond to the creature. It circled her, growling, "What the hell are you?" a man's voice called out. Nira turned to see an older man holding a shotgun. His eyes widened as he took in her appearance. "Don't move," the man shouted, raising his weapon. "You're one of them aliens, aren't you? I knew the government was lying about you all not being real." Nira raised her hand slowly. "My name is Nira. I mean no harm." The man kept the gun pointed at her. "I'm calling the authorities," he said, backing toward his house. "You stay right there." Nira knew she couldn't let that happen. Using speed that would have surprised Ethan, she dashed into the woods. The man fired his shotgun, the blast hitting a tree near her. She ran faster than any human could, moving silently through the forest, back toward Ethan's house. When Ethan returned home, he found Nira gathering her few possessions. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Setting down the groceries. Must leave," she said urgently. "Neighbor saw me. He tried to shoot me. We'll call authorities." Ethan's heart sank. "Did he hurt you?" "No, but they will come looking." She looked at him with those deep black eyes. "Must go now, or you will be in danger too." Ethan thought quickly. "Then well, both go. I have a friend who has a cabin in the mountains. Nobody goes there this time of year. We can hide there until we figure something out." Nira hesitated. "You would leave your home?" "For me," Ethan nodded. "This place is just a house. The garden can be rebuilt. And frankly, life was pretty boring before you crashed into it." They packed quickly, taking only essentials. Ethan loaded his old truck and they left just as night was falling. He took back roads, avoiding main highways. As they drove into the mountains, the stars appeared brighter than in town. Nira looked up at them with longing. "My home is there," she said, pointing to a faint star Ethan could barely see. "So far, we will find a way to contact them." Ethan promised. Not sure how, but, well, figure it out. Nira's hand touched his briefly. "Thank you." The cabin was small and rustic but secure. Surrounded by forest. With no close neighbors, it was perfect for hiding. No one would look for them here, especially as winter approached. Ethan built a fire while Nira explored the cabin. "This is a good place," she said. "We can stay until spring, then perhaps find way to build communication device." For the first time since her crash, Nira felt safe. Her people would be looking for her, but space was vast. Earth just one small planet among billions. They might never find her. But looking at Ethan as he prepared a simple meal, she thought perhaps that wouldn't be so terrible after all. This human had shown her kindness when she expected fear or violence. Perhaps there was hope for both their species yet. The journey to Lyra took what felt like weeks to Ethan, though Krell explained their concept of time differed from Earth's. The ship traveled through what Nira called fold space, moving between the fabric of reality rather than through it. Ethan spent much of the journey in a special chamber designed to help his body adapt to the changes in gravity and atmosphere he would experience. Nira visited him daily, bringing strange foods and teaching him basics of Lyran language. The musical tones were difficult for his human vocal cords, but he tried his best, making Nira create that harmonious laughing sound. Often, "Will your people truly accept me?" he asked during one lesson. "Or will I be studied like a specimen?" Nira considered the question. "Our society values knowledge above all," she explained. "You bring new perspective, valuable insights about Earth that will earn respect. The Science Council already approved your immigration status. But will I be free?" Ethan pressed, "Or a glorified pet?" Nira touched his hand briefly. "You saved my life, Ethan. Under our laws that creates a bond of obligation, I am responsible for your well-being. You will be under my protection with same rights as any Lyran citizen." The ship finally emerged from fold space. Into the Lyran system, Ethan watched through a viewing portal as they approached Nira's homeworld. It was larger than Earth, with 2 small moons and swirling purple and blue atmosphere. The continents were arranged differently, vast oceans covering much of the surface. They descended toward what appeared to be a city, though unlike any Ethan had seen. Structures rose organically from the landscape curves and spirals, rather than straight lines and right angles. The buildings seemed to glow from within, casting soft light across the landscape. "Prepare yourself," Krell advised as they approached landing. "Many will want to meet first human visitor. Some may fear you, most will be curious. All will watch closely how you behave." The ship landed smoothly, in a circular plaza surrounded by tall structures. Ethan felt nervous sweat forming on his brow. Despite the environmental controls, his entire life had led to this moment, first contact, not as humanity had imagined with aliens coming to Earth, but one human going to them. The exit portal opened, revealing a delegation waiting outside. Tall, purple-skinned figures in flowing garments stood in formation, their black eyes fixed on the ship. Ethan took a deep breath and followed Nira out into the light of an alien sun. The gravity felt strange, slightly lighter than Earth, but the air was surprisingly comfortable, rich with oxygen and unfamiliar scents. The temperature was warm, similar to late spring in his hometown. Ethan felt dozens of eyes, studying him, assessing him, categorizing him. A figure stepped forward, taller than the others, with elaborate markings on their face and neck. "Welcome to Lyra, home of the Ascended," the figure said through a translation device similar to Nira's. "This is unprecedented." Nira bowed slightly. "This is Elder Vela, head of Science Council," she explained to Ethan. Then to the elder, she said, "Ethan Moore saved my life, provided shelter at great personal risk. I claim protection." Bond Elder Vela examined Ethan closely. "So this is human. Smaller than reports suggested. Less developed frontal structure. Interesting pigmentation." She circled him, speaking in Lyran to others in the delegation. "I feel like a zoo exhibit," Ethan whispered to Nira. "That will pass," she assured him. "They must satisfy curiosity first. Then protocol will take over." Elder Vela completed her inspection. "You will undergo medical examination, then cultural orientation," she informed Ethan. Science Council wishes interview series. Most urgent. Questions first. Then integration program begins. Ethan looked at Nira with concern. "I will remain with you throughout," she promised. "The bond requires it." The following days passed in a blur of examinations, interviews, and orientation sessions. Ethan learned that Lyran civilization was indeed thousands of years ahead of Earth. They had solved problems of energy, food production, and disease long ago. Their society organized around pursuit of knowledge and harmony with their changing environment, but they faced challenges too. Their sun was entering a phase that would eventually make their planet uninhabitable. They had perhaps 1,000 Earth years to either fix the problem or relocate their entire civilization. Their interest in Earth stemmed. From this crisis they sought compatible worlds and adaptable species. Nira took Ethan to her dwelling when the initial processing was complete. It was a beautiful structure overlooking a vast garden complex. The walls seemed alive, shifting slightly, with patterns of light. The furniture adapted to his body when he sat, conforming perfectly to his human shape. "This will be your home too," she explained. "The protection bond requires proximity until adaptation is complete. Then you may choose separate dwelling if preferred." Ethan explored the space, finding it both alien and somehow welcoming. The technology was advanced but intuitive. Food preparation was automated. Water purified instantly. Waste recycled completely. The garden outside contained plants with similarities to Earth species but with strange colors and formations. As days turned to weeks, Ethan adjusted to Lyran society. He worked with Nira in the agricultural research complex, sharing his knowledge of Earth plants. The Lyrans were particularly interested in his experience with adaptive species crops that could withstand changing conditions. "You understand growth cycles at intuitive level," Elder Vela told him during one session. "Our approach is more theoretical. Your practical experience provides valuable contrast." Ethan found himself respected for his knowledge despite coming from what they considered an underdeveloped world. The Lyrans valued different perspectives, seeing them as essential to problem solving. They documented everything he said about Earth agriculture, soil composition, weather patterns, and plant genetics. In return, they taught him about their world. Their history spanned 50,000 Earth years. They had once been warlike but evolved beyond conflict, finding it inefficient. Their arts focused on harmony and collective experience rather than individual expression. Their language contained concepts Ethan struggled to grasp, even with translation devices. Nira remained his constant companion, explaining cultural nuances, preventing misunderstandings. Her position as his bond protector gave her special status. Their partnership drew attention. Many Lyrans curious about the dynamic between alien species. Some evenings, they walked through the vast gardens that surrounded the city. Ethan noticed how the plants responded to Lyran presence, leaves turning toward them, flowers opening as they passed. The plants recognized bioelectric field. Nira explained, "All life here, connected, all responsive to conscious thought." "Can you show me?" Ethan asked. Nira demonstrated, placing her hand near a flowering plant. Without touching it, she caused the bloom to open and close, following her movements. "That's amazing," Ethan said. "Can I learn to do that?" "Perhaps with time." Nira replied, "Your bioelectric field different, but plants might adapt to recognize it." As months passed by Earth measurement, Ethan became something of a celebrity among Lyrans. The first human visitor was in demand for cultural exchanges, knowledge sharing, and social gatherings. He found most Lyrans welcoming, though some remained distant, concerned about outside influence on their society. One evening, after a particularly long session with the Science Council, Ethan returned to Nira's dwelling feeling drained. The constant translation, the effort to understand complex concepts in an alien context exhausted him. He found Nira in the garden area working with plant samples. "You seem troubled," she observed, setting aside her work. Ethan sighed. "Just tired, I guess, and maybe a little homesick. It's strange. After all this time, there are still moments when I miss Earth. The smell of rain, the sound of birds. Simple things." Nira listened attentively. "This is natural response to displacement. All immigrants experience it. Even among our own colonies, adaptation period can last years. Do you ever regret that I came here?" Ethan asked. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm really contributing anything your people don't already know." Nira made her musical laughing sound. "You underestimate your value, Ethan. Your presence has accelerated our research considerably. Your different perspective challenges established thinking. This is precisely why contact between species matters." She gestured toward the plants she had been working with. "These are hybrids using principles from your Earth garden. Combined with our genetics, they grow faster, require less light, tolerate temperature variations. The Council believes they may be key to sustaining colonies during solar transition. Really, Ethan examined the plants more closely. Recognizing elements of tomatoes and beans mixed with alien characteristics, I helped create these. Not just helped, Nira corrected. Made possible. Without your knowledge. Impossible. She touched a leaf gently. Your gardener's hands brought new life to stars. Ethan Moore. This is no small thing. Later that night, unable to sleep, Ethan stood at the viewing portal in their dwelling, watching the 2 moons of Lyra across the sky. The stars were different. Here, the constellations unknown, Earth invisible among them. He wondered what had happened after their escape. Had the government officials searched for him? Had they declared him missing or dead? Did anyone even notice he was gone? But as he watched the alien sky, he realized something important. He had found his place, not on Earth, where he had always felt like an outsider, but here among the stars, learning, growing like one of his garden plants transplanted to new soil, finding unexpected ways to flourish. A year passed on Lyra. Ethan's body fully adapted to the slightly different gravity and atmosphere. He became fluent in basic Lyran language, though some concepts remained beyond his human mind. The protection bond with Nira evolved into a research partnership recognized by the Science Council. They worked together in the agricultural laboratories, developing hybrid plants that could survive in changing conditions. Their work gained attention across Lyran society. The Earth-Lyra hybrids showed remarkable resilience. The Science Council expanded their project, assigning additional researchers and resources. Ethan found himself leading a team of alien scientists, his practical knowledge complementing their theoretical expertise. One morning, Elder Vela summoned them to the council chambers. Ethan and Nira arrived to find the full council assembled, 12 elders in ceremonial attire. The chamber fell silent as they entered. The solar transition accelerates, Elder Vela announced without preamble. Our measurements indicate increased radiation levels beyond predicted models. Timeline for habitability has shortened. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The news was grave. Ethan had learned enough about Lyran society to understand the implications. Their sun was changing faster than expected. Their carefully planned 1,000-year transition now compressed. How much time? Nira asked. Perhaps 300 years, Elder Vela replied. Not enough for complete planetary evacuation with current resources. Ethan felt the weight of their concern. Lyran civilization numbered billions across their homeworld and colonies. The logistics of relocating an entire species were overwhelming. The Council has been discussing alternatives, Elder Vela continued. Some suggest accelerating colony expansion. Others propose deep space habitats. A third faction recommends seeking alliance with compatible species. She looked directly at Ethan. We wish human perspective on this matter. Ethan was surprised. Why would they value his opinion on such a critical issue? He was just one human with limited knowledge of their technology or capabilities. Your kind adapts quickly. Elder Vela explained. Faces challenges with creativity we sometimes lack. Fresh viewpoint might reveal options we overlook. Ethan considered carefully. Earth would not welcome billions of alien refugees. That much he knew. Humanity still struggled with its own population and resource issues, but perhaps limited cultural exchange could benefit. Both worlds' alliance has risks, he said finally. Earth governments would fear your technology, your numbers, your difference, but isolated cooperation might work. Scientific missions, cultural exchanges, limited settlement, where appropriate. The Council members conferred among themselves in rapid Lyran, too complex for Ethan's translator to process. Finally, Elder Vela spoke again. We propose new mission: return to Earth. Establish formal diplomatic contact. Not invasion, not mass migration, but opening, dialogue. Your presence as intermediary would ease transition. Ethan felt his heart race. Return to Earth. He had assumed his journey was one way, that he'd never see his homeworld again. The thought both excited and terrified him. This is unexpected, Nira said. They had discussed many possibilities during their private conversations. But return to Earth had never seemed realistic. Elder Vela continued. The Council believes time has come for open contact. Isolated incidents throughout human history have prepared conceptual groundwork. Your disappearance created interest. Earth authorities aware of our existence but lack concrete evidence. Controlled revelation preferable to eventual discovery. Would I be welcome back? Ethan asked. Or would I be arrested? As soon as I set foot on Earth, that is concern Elder Vela acknowledged Hent's diplomatic approach. We would request immunity for you as official representative. The proposal would require preparation, months of planning. Ethan and Nira would lead a small delegation traveling in a Lyran diplomatic vessel. They would make contact with Earth governments through established channels requesting formal talks. Ethan would serve as cultural interpreter, bridging the gap between species. The Council adjourned, leaving Ethan and Nira to process this unexpected development. They walked through the garden complex discussing implications. Can this really work? Ethan wondered. Earth isn't united, like Lyra. Different countries, different agendas. Some will want your technology. Others will fear you. Nira considered this. We understand factionalism exists in human society. That is why controlled contact is essential. Present mutual benefits limit access, monitor outcomes. They spent the following weeks preparing. The Council selected 3 additional Lyrans to join the delegation specialists in diplomacy, technology, and biology. They studied Earth languages, cultures, and governance systems. Ethan provided insights on which nations might be most receptive, which most hostile, how to approach initial contact. The diplomatic vessel was prepared, a smaller, more streamlined craft than the rescue ship that had brought Ethan to Lyra. It contained living quarters, laboratory space, and communication systems. The delegation would have authority to negotiate preliminary agreements subject to Council approval. As their departure approached, Ethan felt growing anxiety. How would Earth react to aliens arriving openly? Would he be seen as traitor or pioneer? Would anyone remember the gardener who disappeared, or had he been forgotten? The night before launch, Nira found him at the viewing portal staring at the stars somewhere among them. Earth waited. Frightened, she asked. Ethan nodded. Not of returning, just of what happens after. We could make things better or much worse. Nira stood beside him. Your species fears difference, she observed. This normal evolutionary response. But you overcame this. Fear did not prevent you from helping starving alien in your garden. The journey back to Earth took less time than their escape. The diplomatic vessel utilized more advanced fold space technology. Ethan spent the transit reviewing briefing materials and preparing himself mentally for return as they approached Earth solar system. The reality of his situation hit him. He had left as fugitive, was returning as ambassador. They positioned the ship in high Earth orbit, remaining undetected by most Earth technology, though certainly visible to military and space agency sensors. Nira activated a specialized communication array, broadcasting on frequencies used by major world powers. This is Lyran diplomatic vessel, requesting communication with Earth authorities, she transmitted. The message repeated in several languages. We come in peace, seeking dialogue. We have a human representative aboard. Ethan Moore, formerly of North American region. They waited. Monitoring. Earth communications. They detected immediate spike in military chatter. Fighters scrambled space. Agencies on alert, governments convening emergency sessions. Exactly as expected, after several hours response came. Multiple signals from different nations, each demanding exclusive contact. Ethan had predicted this, advised patience. The Lyrans broadcast, again requesting united response through United Nations framework. As diplomatic entity, they would recognize only collective Earth representation, not individual nations. 3 days passed in orbit. The ship maintained position while Earth governments argued amongst themselves. Finally, compromise emerged. A preliminary contact team representing major world powers would meet with Lyran delegation at neutral location, International Space Station expanded module, specially prepared. Ethan watched through viewing portal as Earth rotated below beautiful blue world that had been his home. now foreign territory. His heart raced as final preparations were made. The diplomatic vessel would dispatch a smaller shuttle carrying their 5-person team. Ethan, Nira, and 3 Lyran specialists. They would be first official representatives of their species to meet in peaceful, structured environment before boarding shuttle. Nira spoke privately with Ethan. "Are you certain you wish to proceed? Once revealed, your life changes forever. No returning to anonymity." Ethan smiled grimly. "That happened when I offered you tomatoes in my garden." The shuttle detached, moving carefully toward the space station. Below, governments prepared citizens for announcement that would change human history forever. First confirmed contact with intelligent alien species. The news would cause panic in some places, celebration in others, religious crisis, revolution, scientific euphoria. All predictable reactions to profound shift in understanding. The docking procedure completed smoothly. Ethan led their delegation through airlock into prepared module. Human representatives waited on other side. 6 individuals in formal attire, expressions, mixture of fear, awe, suspicion, and wonder. Ethan Moore stepped forward, taking historic role. "I represent Lyran delegation," he said clearly. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. We come seeking mutual understanding and cooperation. In spirit of peace, we offer friendship between our worlds." The human representative stared at him, then at the tall, purple-skinned beings behind him. One woman stepped forward. She wore uniform indicating high diplomatic rank. "I am Ambassador Olivia Carter, representing United Earth Contact Committee," she said, voice steady despite obvious tension. "We acknowledge Lyran delegation and welcome opportunity for dialogue." She looked directly at Ethan. "Are you truly Ethan? Moore reported missing from Colorado 3 years ago. I am Ethan, confirmed. And my disappearance was related to protecting Nira after her ship crashed." He gestured to Nira, who stood beside him. "She is scientist. Saved her life. She saved mine. Now we hope to help both our worlds." Ambassador Carter nodded. "For verification purposes, we have someone who claims to know you." 5 years after first contact, Earth had changed forever. The initial meetings aboard the space station led to establishment of permanent Lyran embassy, first in neutral territory, then expanded to multiple locations around globe. Ethan Moore became chief human liaison, working alongside Nira to bridge the gap between species. The transition was not smooth. Protests erupted in many regions. Religious leaders declared conflicting interpretations, some welcoming cosmic brothers, others warning of demons in disguise. Military powers demanded access to Lyran technology. Corporations sought exclusive partnerships. Economic systems fluctuated wildly as implications became clear. But the benefits soon became apparent. Lyran medical knowledge eliminated several human diseases. Their energy technology reduced pollution. Their agricultural techniques, developed with Ethan's assistance, improved crop yields in drought regions. They shared knowledge selectively, carefully monitoring implementation and impact. For Ethan, life became balancing act between worlds. He maintained apartment in Lyran Embassy complex, but traveled extensively, meeting with government officials, scientists, cultural leaders. He appeared occasionally in carefully managed public forums explaining his story, answering endless questions about why he left Earth and what he found among stars. His relationship with Nira evolved beyond protection, bond, beyond research partnership. They developed deep connection, transcending biological differences, each completing what the other lacked. His intuitive understanding of growth and adaptation, her systematic analysis, and theoretical framework. Together they created something neither species could alone on particularly significant day. 5 years after first contact, they stood together in familiar place, Ethan's original garden. The small house remained, though he no longer lived there. It had been preserved partly as historical landmark, partly as working research station. The garden, expanded now, covering several acres. Experimental plots, growing earth, and Lyran hybrid plants. "This is where everything began," Nira said softly, examining tomato plant, descended from ones she first tasted when starving. "Seems appropriate place to begin." "Next phase," Ethan nodded. The council had approved ambitious proposal joint colony world where humans and Lyrans would live together, sharing knowledge, creating new society. Not escape from dying star, not invasion, but genuine partnership. Equal numbers, equal voice, shared future. Your old neighbor Faith has agreed to coordinate human selection committee. Nira continued. She understands balance needed, not just scientists but artists, farmers, builders, whole community spectrum. Faith. Mason had become unexpected ally. Her quiet protection years ago led to position as human coordinator for exchange programs. She recognized potential in cooperation rather than competition. Her practical approach complemented Lyran theoretical framework. We need balance. Ethan agreed, looking across expanded garden where researchers from both species worked together. Some Earth governments pushing for military personnel, others for corporate representatives. We need ordinary people who can adapt and grow. The colony project would take decades to implement suitable planet, already identified within reasonable travel distance. Team surveying, developing infrastructure planning carefully. Voluntary migration, small groups establishing foundations for larger population. Each step measured, evaluated, adjusted. While colony development progressed, cultural exchange deepened. Selected humans trained on Lyra. Lyran specialists immersed in Earth cultures. Universities established joint programs. Knowledge flowed both directions, carefully monitored but increasingly open. Younger generations especially embraced new perspective, seeing possibilities rather than threats. Not everyone approved. Opposition movements formed on both worlds. Earth preservationists feared contamination of human culture. Lyran traditionalists worried about dilution of their ancient ways. Some Earth nations refused participation, maintaining isolation. Others demanded more technology than Lyrans would share. Political tensions complicated every step. Ethan and Nira navigated complex landscape, balancing competing interests, mediating conflicts, finding compromises. They became recognizable figures on both worlds, respected by many, distrusted by some. Their unique partnership represented what might be possible, greater than sum of parts. That evening, after inspecting research plots, they sat on porch of original house watching sunset. Just like old times, Ethan remarked. Though everything had changed, Nira made her musical laughing sound. Universe works in patterns, she observed. Beginning often contains ending. Ending often leads to beginning. They had private news not yet shared with either world. After years of genetic research, medical teams determined compatibility possible. Modified DNA adaptive. Physiology, careful planning. Their child would be first of new generation. Neither fully human nor fully Lyran, but something new. Something that might eventually bridge biological gap between species. The sun dipped below horizon, painting sky with orange and purple light. Ethan's garden, fruits of cooperation between worlds, grew silently around them. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more resistance, more progress. Today was moment to appreciate journey, from desperate alien eating tomatoes to architects of shared future path. Neither could have predicted. Neither would change elsewhere across globe. Other partnerships formed, other collaborations developed. As younger generations grew up with knowledge of cosmic neighbors, barriers softened. Humans adapted quickly as they always had. Creativity, innovation, flexibility traits. Lyrans valued traits that might save both species. Ethan sometimes marveled at sequence of events that led here. Simple act offering food to hungry stranger, changing course of two civilizations. What if he'd called authorities instead? What if he'd acted from fear rather than compassion? Universe balanced on such moments, tiny decisions with infinite consequences. 20 years after first contact, colony ship departed, carrying first 5,000 settlers, equal numbers from each world. Among them, Faith Mason, now elderly, but determined to see new world researchers, including some who worked in original garden builders, artists, teachers, ordinary people seeking extraordinary future. Ethan and Nira remained on Earth, continuing work foundation they built. Continued growing, small research station became international center for cooperative science. Original garden expanded into demonstration farm where techniques from both worlds combined. Barriers between species diminished with each generation. Their child, now teenager, worked alongside them, understanding both worlds belonging to both. Yet something new, something that might eventually become separate civilization, given enough time, enough space, enough freedom to evolve. This too was form of gardening, planting seeds, allowing them to grow according to their nature. Most surprising development came from unexpected direction. Earth artists, musicians, writers finding inspiration in Lyran concepts. Lyran mathematicians, philosophers discovering new perspectives in human creativity. Cultural exchange, producing renaissance on both worlds. New art forms, new scientific theories, new philosophical frameworks emerging from collision of different minds. 50 years after starving alien ate tomatoes in human garden anniversary celebration, held at original site, now global monument to first contact, Ethan, elderly, but still active, stood with Nira, also showing signs of age though differently. Their child, now adult, with own contributions to joint society. Their grandchildren, representing third generation of new path, gathered around them, representatives from both worlds. Some who remembered early days, most born after contact, knowing only universe where humans and Lyrans work together. Despite ongoing challenges, despite resistance, despite setbacks, cooperative path continued growing, spreading, branching like healthy garden plant. Ethan addressed, gathered, crowd voice softer than once was, but still carrying authority of experience. Never doubt that small acts of kindness matter, he said. This began with offering food to hungry stranger. Not grand plan, not great vision, just simple human decency. Sometimes, universe needs only that small opening. That moment when fear gives way to compassion. When difference becomes opportunity, rather than threat. Nira added her perspective in musical Lyran language translator, conveying meaning. Two different evolutionary paths meeting at crossroads. Two different ways of seeing universe now combined. Two different approaches to challenges now working together, not erasing difference but honoring it, finding strength in complementary aspects. Their grandchild spoke, last representing future, neither human nor Lyran but something new. We carry both worlds within us, she said. We see with double vision. We think with combined wisdom. We build with diverse hands. The stars await, not conquest, not escape, but exploration. Together, as celebration concluded, Ethan walked once more through original garden. Now heritage site preserved as living museum. First tomato plant descendants still growing, still evolving, still adapting. Season after season, generation after generation. Life finding way forward. He remembered frightened alien eating vegetables, remembered cabin in mountains, remembered journey between stars, remembered return as ambassador, remembered countless meetings, debates, struggles, compromises, remembered how universe changed because he offered food to hungry stranger. Nira joined him among plants that bridged worlds. We did good thing, yes? She asked, musical tones of her language mixing with English, as often happened when they were alone. Ethan smiled, touching. Leaf of plant that existed because two species worked together. We planted good garden, he agreed, and it's still growing.